Good afternoon, everyone. It's 2 o'clock right now. So thanks to everyone for joining us for this third fieldwork performance evaluation training. We did one last December. This will be the third one we have in the past year. We have got a lot of good questions and very good attendance for the past 3 training. And I hope you guys will enjoy today's training and get some good information for your program. And we will have, we will turn the training to Danny. Danny from our vendor FormStack. She will do the, she was the primary person for today's training. I will chime in whenever it's needed. I have worked with many of you in the past half a year for the new program. So I may be able to answer some those common questions. So Danny, is all yours.
Thanks, Junhwa. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I know your time is precious, so I want to be sure to cover everything that's involved as a fieldwork educator in completing the performance evaluation. Feel free to type questions into the Q&A box. We have Gina Cruzy on our side. She's actually the one who built the form. She will be monitoring those questions and we'll be saving them for the end. Otherwise, we are just going to go through a few of the slides. By now, you should have received your welcome email from FormStack. And so if you're enrolled, you would have received that. You should have one for FormStack as well as documents. If you have not received that, or if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to AOTA's customer service. That's going to be customerservice@aota.org. Otherwise, we'll start going through the training. Everything that we're going through today will be detailed in a step-by-step PDF, which you will receive. So feel free to take notes, but don't feel like you need to write down every single step. Everything that I'm going through will be in the same order. And just know this is a lot of information. However, this is a one-time setup. So once you get in here and you customize this form and make some of your changes specific to your school, from that point forward, everything is on autopilot and would be good from that point forward. So I'm going to show you this recording that Gina did. Again, Gina built this form, and so she's going to walk us through the form itself, kind of the use case and how you would go about completing it. After that, we'll go live into the account and I'll show you some of those custom settings that you'll need to make. So again, feel free to ask questions within the chat if you need, or within the Q&A if you have any of those questions. We are recording this webinar. So after this, we will be sending the recording out and that will be hosted as well. Junhwa, I believe we're recording. Are you seeing that on your end?
Yes, the training is recording right now. And the recording will be posted on the AOTA website, as you guys probably, the link I posted online, or I posted in the chat window already. So hopefully by early next week, we will be posting the updated guide, step-by-step guide, and the recording.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, I will turn it over to Gina here. She's going to walk you through the form creation.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so everyone can kind of see what we're going over here. Okay, and I'm going to take us through the process of filling this out as if I were a fieldwork educator or student. So we'll talk about this later, but you'll be able to send this link out, and this link is able to be filled out by the fieldwork educator or student on their computer, on a mobile device. It's set up for all of the above. So we'll just go ahead and look through the form a little bit here. As you go through, you see here's the option where they choose fieldwork educator or student. I already had filled this out a bit before here so that we could click through because these are required fields. But you'll see we ask the basic information about the student, the college, university, and also the placement and dates. One feature on this form that they can use is the save and resume later. If you choose the save and resume later option, it gives you a link that you can save to your email or send to your email. And that way you can take your time filling this document out. You don't have to fill it out in one sitting on your phone or on your computer whenever you're ready. So I'll just skip through a little bit and we'll look. You have your general questions listed here, and then you give your performance evaluation and as well as a comment. There's a comment section for each question as you go through. And as you're going through, the form is auto-calculating a score based on the option chosen. So if you give a 4, you're getting a 4 for your total calculation at the end. If you choose 3, etc., as you go through. So the form goes through each of the different identifying areas and then calculates at the end. And we'll look at that in a little bit. So when you hit submit on this form, there's 2 things that happen. One, there's an immediate email that is sent out. And that email kind of looks like this. It says the name of the person that filled it out. And then you have a link to the submission in the form. So I'll pull that up. It's just a PDF of the information that you had already listed on the form. It goes through all the items you listed, as well as your score for that particular evaluation. Also in that list is a link to the final evaluation. When they're ready, they can click that. There's also a delayed email that sends at that same time. It's set up to send at that time. And it will send at the time you choose, and we'll talk about this later, either 6 weeks or whenever that final would be placed. There'll be a link to the final evaluation. So the final evaluation looks very similar to the midterm evaluation. When you click open that link that I just showed you, it takes you to this page, which is a different form. You'll see the information is the same. It pulls in the information you listed on the midterm form as you go. And you'll see this is the area where it's mostly different. You have the midterm information on the left and the question for the final on the right. Again, I pre-filled these earlier so that we don't have to actually go through a whole evaluation on the call. The comments from the midterm do not show up in the final, but they are listed on that PDF that is sent with the initial email. And I'll just get through to the end so we can see that calculation piece. And again, I filled out the final area on this form just for this webinar so that we didn't actually have to go through a whole evaluation here today. So I'll go ahead and get to the end. More questions. Okay, so here's what the evaluation area looks like. You can see my total is 115. It tells you specifically which questions each number had. You'll see I listed the student very, very well. So most of them are 4s, some are 3s. And this is the midterm total. And then you also have the final total. The final total will let you know if the student passed or failed. If you're passing them, it will say pass, and if it's a fail, it will show fail. That is based on this calculation. So if this total number is less than 91, it'll show a fail. And also if you list less than a 2 here, it will show a fail for the student as well on these first 3 items. And that's based on the calculations for IOTA. So when you're done, you hit submit and you get another immediate email with your PDF attachment that has a rundown of all the things that you answered, as well as an automated certificate. So this email is automatically sent with the information that was listed in your request, and a certification is attached. The certification information pulls in from the form as well. So these dates pull in from the time you chose, the amount of weeks pulls in from those values, and then obviously the credentials and your name would pull in. So that's the basic of the information. I think I'll let Danny go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and
Okay, so a lot of information there. I want to dive into the actual forms piece. Just get out of this PowerPoint here, and we'll take a look at the platform and really dive into the mechanics and the customizations that you need to make on your end. So we talked about a forms piece as well as a documents piece. So our form side is where the actual performance evaluation is going to live. You'll need to make a few settings here. And then separately, we'll talk through the documents portion, which is where that final certificate is going to be generated. So that's going to be at the graduation or the end of the term here. So in your forms doc account, and please confirm you're able to see my screen here. I'm just in a test account. Correct me if you're not seeing that for any reason, but in this test account here, you should only see 2 forms. You should see a midterm and a final. unless perhaps you have both certifications, both OTS as well as OTAS. But otherwise, for this instance, we're going to say that I am in OTS. So I need to make a few changes. So these are the forms here. Again, it's very likely you're only going to see two. You're going to see a midterm and a final. And the first thing we need to do is we need to make some customizations to this midterm form. So if I just go into my settings here, we're going to change this so that it comes from us versus just a generic email. So again, these steps will be listed step by step. Oops, sorry. You can have everyone mute themselves, please. So in this form here, we're going to go to emails and actions. And the first thing that we're going to do is on this notification email, I'm going to click on edit. And the only thing I'm doing in this notification email is instead of it coming from the generic no reply at formstack.com, I want this to actually come from myself, a custom email address. So then I would type in my name and my information here. That way, when people receive the email, they actually see your information versus just the general Formstack information. Once you've done that, you'll just click on Save Notification Email. And that's the only change that you need to make for the notification email. That's basically just the internal email. Now, as far as the confirmation email for our end users, we're going to want to delay this. So basically, we want to have the submission answers from the midterm. Those are going to populate into the final. And so what we're doing here is we're delaying this confirmation email. So if I go into confirmation email, I'm going to choose edit. I'm going to do two things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from, I can just type in this instance, I can type in my email address. And then this is where the delay is. This is very important. So what we're doing is we're delaying the send of this email so that at the time of the final, we'll receive an email with the attachment of all of the answers from the midterm. So from here, I can choose my delay. So again, the only thing I'm doing on my confirmation email, I'm changing that from email address. And then depending on if you are OTS, you're going to delay this 6 weeks versus OTAS, you would delay it 4 weeks. So you'll just choose delay and then either plus 6 weeks or plus 4 weeks. And then just save that confirmation email. So these are the forms themselves. Now,
Amy?
yes.
So is this being what I want to add some comments on this section because I got a lot of questions related to these two, notification emails and the confirmation emails. So you might just remember to clarify the notification email is really the email will send to the student or fieldwork educator after they complete the midterm. So that email will send to them automatically. As soon as they complete the midterm, right now we are talking about the midterm form. So that's the notification email. So it might make sense if you can, similar to normally you will consider is a confirmation email. When I fill out form, then I finish it, I submit the form, then I will get the notification email. So that notification email include the copy of what they completed for the midterm and also the link for the final. The confirmation email is really the email they will get before the final evaluation due. So the time when we set up the time, delay time 6 weeks or 4 weeks, that's the time from the starting date is when did they finish the midterm. So if they finish the midterm at January 1st, 2021, then if you set up 6 weeks, that means after 6 weeks after they complete the midterm, then they will get that confirmation email. So if you want to make it a little bit clear to yourself, you can rename the confirmation emails is delayed reminder email. So yes, the confirmation is a little bit confusing in this content. That's how you do it. No, yes, some people, if you want to, we by default set up 6 weeks. If you are a program, you want those people, students or fieldwork educator, receive the email before the final is due. So some schools, they prefer to put 5 weeks instead of 6 weeks for OT program. If you are OTA program, you might want to put 3 weeks instead of 4 weeks. So that way, this fieldwork educator or student will get the email a week before the final due. So this time frame, remember the time frame, the starting date is when they complete the midterm. That's the starting date. Can you go down to the message, Danny? You go to the confirmation email, that message. So some people asking whether they can customize this email message. Yes, you can. The only catch is do not change any of the emojis field. If you can, on this screen, you can see that the fieldwork educator and the student name, those are all populated from the form. So whoever finished the form, that's the information populated from the form. So you don't want to make any change to that. Those are dynamic. So it is dynamic, so you don't want to touch those, except that college or university, that's the last one. You can change it so that you can make it, add your own signature block, so you can remove that field and add your own consistent college format. If you have a customized signature block, you can do that. All the other fields, like the link, click here to enter your final evaluation, and the field work educator's name and the student name, do not make those changes. If you make changes, then that email is a generic email. It's not a customized email anymore. So just something I want to mention to all of you. The same thing about the notification email. You can change that signature block if you want.
Great, very good. Those are important changes. We've seen a few mistakes happen, and that's why we're trying to prevent those. So once you're actually completed these notification emails, again, in that notification, all we're doing is changing the from email address. In the confirmation, we're changing the from email address as well as delaying it. That way, the email is sent at a later time. So those are the only changes you need to make as far as the forms themselves. Once you're ready to send the form out, you're going to go to the portals area. So what the portals will do is this will allow you to add people to receive an email that says you've been tasked with completing the form. This is very important. If you are taking notes, make sure that you have 2 separate portals, one for the fieldwork educator and one for the student. And this is a very common question that we've been asked. If students are starting at different times, so let's say a student is starting 2 weeks later than the rest of the cohort, that needs to be a separate portal, because these portals are all going to be based on when the student is beginning, when they're beginning their program. So if I have one student who is beginning a little bit later, I need to create a separate portal, because as soon as you create this portal, so I'm going to go create portal, and I'll walk you through this. This will just be my test portal. And I will create this. If you wanted to, you can add your school logo, any type of description. I won't do much there. I'm just going to save this, and then I'm going to go back into my test. Now this is what I'm doing. I'm adding the form that needs to go out to this portal. So when I choose to add my form, whatever form I want to add, and then I'm adding my participants. When I'm adding my participants, if I'm in the student portal, I'm going to add the student email addresses versus the fieldwork educators portal is going to be for fieldwork educators. Note that you can do bulk uploads. So if you have a CSV file, you can do that all at once. Or if you just have a few email addresses, you can enter them and separate them by commas. So essentially, as soon as you add your participants to this portal, so if I click on add participants, then they'll be sent an email that asks them to complete the form. Now let me show you what a portal looks like that actually has some participants in it. Let me go to, see, I think here's one that we used Junwa's information. So once you've added someone to the portal, you'll see who has been assigned. You'll have all of your participants listed here. If I needed to, I could remove them. There's also some options to set reminders and also to see who's completed the form and who has not. So I'll send you more information regarding portals. I just wanted to highlight this very high level for you before we actually go into the documents portion, which I'll talk through in just a moment. Junwa, anything that we need to add before we move to the documents and certificates? The plan is to highlight that next and then show the final submission at the end, but feel free to add anything.
Yes, I do want to add a couple of things on this one. So for the portal, remember the portal is the place you will invite people for the midterm. So you do not need to add the final form on the portal. That's the one tips you need to remember. Because if you add the final form on the portal, then those people will fill out a blank form for the final. Those midterm score will not pre-populate on the final form anymore. So that's why all the final form, the invitation link is populated by when they finish the midterm. So you do not need to add the final form on the portal, only midterm. Then another question would be, how can you, some schools have very small programs. You may not, even you have students go out to different, on different days. You may not want to create, each portal has one student. If you don't have many students, or even they go out on different days, you can still use the same portal. So the trick is how you can do that. You don't want to add the students, the participants to the portal until you are ready for them to fill out the form. So let's say because as soon as you add that person's email address to the portal as a participant, they will receive the email immediately. So if you have a student go out today, and you add them to the name to the portal, and they will receive the invitation for the midterm today, then maybe in that case you want to set up a reminder, so that that will be the reminder the midterm when is due. If you decide to send the email right before they need to fill the midterm, I don't recommend you to set the reminder. You just add the participants to this portal before they need to fill out the form. So for I think I get a little bit distracted from if you have a small program, you can add them into the same portal. So you can today, one student go out, you add that student's name to the portal. Tomorrow, you have another student go to the fieldwork educate, go out. You can add that student's name to the portal. That's applied if you have small cohorts, you don't have that many students, you can track those status through performers. Then if you click on the performers next to that form, so on this status, you can see who completed or who has not completed. If they completed, you will see a complete date next to the email address. So then you see anybody who has not completed, you can send a reminder, and you can track through here. So that's really for, if you have a small cohort, you do not need to create many portals. That's one tip. Another tip is the common question is some schools, they don't need students to complete the level 2 form. In that case, you don't need to create a portal for students. You only need to create a portal for the educator. But even you don't even you don't invite students to complete the evaluation, I would still recommend you to finish the setting on the form set, the email part, to finish for the students in case in the future you want to do that everything is all set for you. So the whole process is you add the students or fieldwork educator to the portal, then that's invite them to the midterm evaluation. When they finish the midterm evaluation, then all the things will trigger from the midterm. You will receive as soon as they complete the midterm, they will receive that notification email. Then after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, depends on what the delay time you said, then they will receive that reminder email. And for the fieldwork educator, after they complete the finals, in addition to that notification email they will receive, they will also receive the certificates, which Danny will talk in the next section. One other the third tip I want to mention on the portal. So the portal is really for you to track the status for the midterm. For the final, does not associate to the portal, so you will not be able to track the status on the portal anymore. Then how can you track that information? You need to go to the submission part. So if you go to the submission portal, then that will have all of the whoever, if you go to this final submissions, then you will see everybody complete the final form. You have to track us through there. Another question we got a lot is for the portals. Let's say if you guys have each school, some school have many different coordinates programs or campuses, have different people responsible for specific group of students. You would create a portal for your for the group of students you are responsible for. So that's you may need to create multiple portals. In that case, even you create multiple portals for the midterm for each campus or for each fieldwork coordinators, but all of the submission, it really goes to the same place. So if it doesn't matter whether portal 1, portal B, it all goes to the same place. You will see all the results from this submission part. That's that some confusion, some people got confused over there. I have my own portal. Why I see other people's information? That's because no matter which portal you are in, the results all go to the same place, the same destination. So you will see other people, students' information or fieldwork educators' information. That's why we recommend, if you have that kind of situation, especially when you have multiple campuses with the same program, we recommend you to use a different account instead of using one account and the different coordinators. Each form, each account, you can only have one template, which means you can only have one email, customized email. You can only do the from email address. That's one set, one template. So even you have multiple people, you can only have one name, one email address. The same thing apply to the certificate. You can only have one template. So that's why, or some people get confused. I have my own portal. When I change this, then I change the other people's, change it for everybody. That's because within the same account, you only have one template. So I hope that makes sense to help answer some questions from the chat.
Great, very good. Yes, and that's important to note that everything is still in reference to the form itself, regardless of which portal it's in. We still only have one form, one or two forms. So you should have either the midterm or the final. So let's take a look at these submissions here. I'm just looking on this forms page and we go to the submissions.
Danny, can I mention one more thing for the portal, because I see a question there.
Yes, please.
So another thing about portal, some people would say, okay, I have, I have, this year, winter 2021, then summer 2021. Do we really have to create all the portals, or can we just reuse the same portal? So the answer is, you can do either way. Depends on your situation. If your situation is this cohort, this student, they are not overlapping. So the time frame, they are not overlapping, then you can remove the participants from when the whole process is done. The field work, the whole process is done. You can remove those participants, add a new participant to the same portal. In that case, you don't have to create, a lengthy portals for different cohorts. But if you have students overlapping, so some students start on the January 1st, the other student, they don't finish until end of February, but the other group of students, they don't go out until February 1st, and they don't finish until end of March. In this case, I would recommend you to create separate portals for different group of students. Okay, that's all.
Great, that makes sense. So let's take a look at the submissions themselves. So on this top form here, the OTAS final, if I go to submissions, we see we have 9 submissions. And for each of these submissions, I can click into them and I have a few options. Let's say that there was an incorrect entry on one of the fields. Then you can do edit and correct that. But more commonly than not, the only time you'll be coming into this area would be to resend that notification email. So if I click on resend notification email, I can do it from here. Or do you want me to show the example where we're actually changing the email address within this area, or would you prefer me to focus on the resend email option?
I think both. So let's do resend the notification email first. Then I can talk about the situation when you want to change that.
Great, very good. So you would choose who you're resending that notification email to. Again, these are dynamic fields populated from the form itself. So student email, fieldwork educator email. And then another option, and Juno, I'll have you speak through this. If we wanted to, we could actually go into the edit option. And instead of sending this, if there's any issues with people receiving emails, we can actually change the emails within here so that it goes to the correct person. And Juno, I'll let you expand on that.
Okay, sounds good. So this kind of, when you want to edit this submission, one scenario is they made a mistake on the form, because they after they submitted, they will not be able to make any changes to their own submission. So you need to come here and make edits to whatever information needs to be corrected. Then the second situation would be, let's say one field work educator, they finished everything, but for somehow they did not receive the email. Then you can come here to the edit. Then what you can do, you can change the field work educator's email to your own email address, so you will be able to receive the copy. You change it to your own email, then you resend a notification. Then you will be able to receive the copy of the submission and with the link for the final. After you receive that copy, you can forward that email to the fieldwork educator. That's the second scenario. The third scenario is some students will have 2 fieldwork educators. One is responsible for the first half. So that means the first fieldwork educator complete the form for the midterm. Then the first fieldwork educator will receive the copy of midterm evaluation and the link for the final. But the second half is done by the second fieldwork educator. And that second fieldwork educator did not fill out the midterm, then how can that person, that second fieldwork educator, receive the link for the final? then this will be the workaround. You come here to the submission, which was done by the first fieldwork educator. Then you come change the fieldwork educator's email address to the second fieldwork educator's email address. So then we send a notification email. So then you can just do use my use a different email address, use my Hotmail. So just do LIU. You can change that. Then resend. When you resend the notification emails, you just need the check the box in front of the fieldwork educator's email. So that's the email will go whatever on the form. So you do send that. The second fieldwork educator will receive the email. Then after you've done that, remember to change this fieldwork educator's email back to the first one, because you don't want your data to be inaccurate. You still want to keep the data accurate as was supposed to be. So you just come back after you resend the notification and come back, change the email address back to the first fieldwork educator. Then the second one will have all the data submitted by the first fieldwork educator. In addition, they also receive the link for the final. So this is the workaround for how can you handle that kind of situation.
Great. And other options here within your submission table is you can create a custom filter or a custom report. Let's say I can choose all of my selections and then I want to create a custom filter. And perhaps I want to see any field that contains, so I can say unique ID or field contains keywords or any of the other fields that are in here. So if I wanted to search by college or university or educator's email, I can do that as well. And I can create filters that then create a report. So I will send you more information on the reporting capabilities. The last thing we will transition to is that final certificate. So this is going to be, so we've been in the forms product thus far. Now we're going to transition to our documents. So it's another product of FormStack. So if I go to FormStack documents.
Danny? Sorry, can I add something to this part, the submission part?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Let me go back to this, absolutely.
Yeah, so for the submission, you can see that, from all the portals, all the submission come here. So anytime the form submitted will from anywhere, so they will come to this section. Then you can, for some schools would like to export the data out and import into your other systems. So you can come here, do the export that part. So if you check the box, if you want to export all of them, check the box on top of the first, check the box on the first row, the title row, header row, then you will select everything. On the box on top of that, then you will select everything. When you do export, check that box, you can see that. You click export. So when you can see you have multiple options. One is PDF file, CSV, Excel, RTF, that's rich text text format. So for when you do this, if you do PDF file, that means all of the submission will will be a PDF file version at one file. So if you want to keep a record for the for all of this submission in a PDF file on students' record, you can do either by select everything as one PDF file, or you do one by one. So for that one student, they usually will have a student themselves submission and also have a fieldwork educator. Then you do combine those, select those two, and select those two and do export PDF file. Then that will be the same PDF file. So have all of the all of the data there. Then so that's one of the some schools I know they want to keep a file, keep a record on students' file so that, you know, digital copy, you can do PDF file. Excel file, yeah, it's not, but might not have a nice format, but PDF file has a better format. But if you want to do data input to other system, then you would want to do Excel or CSV file.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll be sending more information on that as well. Let's transition over to the documents. I'm watching the time. We should be good, but I want to save a bit of time at the end for questions. So just know that we'll be going through each of those steps in more detail. But in your documents account, also a FormStack product, what we have here is we have uploaded the general certificate of completion. What we need you to do, again, this is a one-time thing. Once you do this, customize it, it's kind of set it and forget it. But we need you to come in here and look at this certificate and go to Edit and Manage File. We're going to open this in Office Online. So essentially, we're working with a Word doc here. And we just need to customize this so that it matches your school's criteria. So right now, there should be a logo. I don't know why it's not populating, but there's a logo in the upper left corner. You can delete that and you're going to insert your university logo. You can just upload that as an image, a JPEG file. And then at the bottom here, you'll want to update this to your signature. Go ahead and leave the date because you can see this is a dynamic field and that's going to populate based on when we run this integration. So we have an integration set up between the form and this document / certificate so that at the final, once the final is submitted, then this is going to trigger all of the information from the form to the certificate to then be delivered. So again, in here in the Word doc, you're just changing out your logo and we'll have instructions for you on exactly how to do that. Essentially, you would see a logo here, you would delete it, insert or upload your image, change your signature file. And then once you've done that, this is updating in real time here. So then we have everything, we have the file updated. If you want to make sure, if you want to take a look at it and see what it looks like, you can always download that and then make changes if needed. That way you can see what that final looks like. So we will email that to, or after the final has been completed. So the last thing we need to do here is on the delivery tab, we just need to edit this.
Penny, can we go back to that certificate? I want to have make one comment on that. So editing Office Online. So this is similar to the form side, you know, all of those, all the fields with the parentheses, those are dynamic fields. So do not make that change except the college or university. College or university, actually, I kind of recommend you to change to your own format because this is popular from the form, and some people may add the, you know, enter it in different formats. So that this way you will have a consistent format for your college's name. So that that's the only comment I would want to make, the college or university. And that the second one would be the date. That date field sometimes it looks a little bit funny. So, and you can, it might be some schools decide to put that date somewhere else, so can easily manage the format. You can do that too. So you just move the full date, not that date, the date at the end in that date. So some schools prefer to put the date either before the signature or after the signature, or some other places. So right now, yes, when we do the certificate, it will be, you know, sometimes the format looks, online one looks a little bit off track, but you can test it on the, to see how it look like. You can always go to test it. So I would strongly recommend do the test one, so that way you can see exactly on the PDF file how it look like.
Yeah, that's a great point. And this is just populating. This does take a minute or so, and then you'll see it downloads the file just as a Word doc, or I'm sorry, a PDF document. That way you can view it and make any changes. Again, you can just go to Manage File and open up that Office Online and make changes there. And then you'll be able to see exactly what that looks like.
Yes. So the first time when you do the test, when you go to your account, you will not see any of the value. Basically, those are the values we need popular that certificate.
Yes, exactly. And then the last thing you'll do here is on the email message itself. So I'll go to the Deliver tab, Edit, and I want to change the information to personalize it. Everything up here is correct, but you'll want to update your school information at the top as well.
Some people, since it's an email address, I find a lot of schools prefer to delete that part. Feel free to do that.
This one here, Junhua?
Now it's on the top of the address block. So because it's an email, so most of the schools prefer just add to the signature block instead of have a address block on the top of the email message.
I see, that makes sense. So yes, this is optional if you wanted to delete or customize, but certainly make sure that you're updating that signature block at the bottom. This individual happened to have an image of the signature, so they uploaded it. That's not necessary. Again, this is just the body of the email itself, and then attached will be that certificate that you've customized.
Yeah, for the email message, you are free to customize this email message, except be careful about those merged fields, any fields with the parentheses. Again, I would recommend you to change that college and university instead of using dynamic fields, change it to a static fields to match your school. And make sure to look at the message, especially for the second paragraph. Make sure that matches your state licensure requirement. It should be some, make sure that language is right. Is 1 unit per week and per student. So that's, and also if you need to add additional language, feel free to do that. You just, they combine the merged fields, try not to, do not make any changes except the college and the university.
Great. So that is the entire process. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll get to questions here. Before I do so, Junhua, anything else that you think it's important to review while I have my screen up, and that way we can go through that live, or should we just go into the questions?
I just want to repeat something, this, so for the whole process is, first you go to the portal, you create a portal, add the midterm to the portal, then invite students or fieldwork educators to the portal so that they can complete the midterm evaluation. When they complete the midterm evaluation, they will immediately receive the notification email. That email includes a copy of the completed evaluation and the link to the final. Then depends on what time frame you set for the delay email. That if you set up for 3 weeks, then after they complete the midterm evaluation, they will receive that confirmation email, which is the delayed reminder email. After that, after the students or fieldwork educator complete the final with the link from the reminder email or the midterm notification email, then they will receive they will receive the final notification email, which includes a copy of the final evaluation. For fieldwork educator, in addition to that email, they will receive an email for the certificate, which is the email body will be this message and the certificate will be as the attachment. That's the whole process. The certificate, you finish setting up, is all there. You don't need to even come back anymore unless you have a personnel change or you want to update the message. Otherwise, everything is run by itself. The only thing when you have a new student, you really just need to go to the portal, either create a new portal or add the students to the add people to the existing portals. So though that's the only thing you need to do when you have, after you finish your initial setup for future new fieldwork educators or students. That's the whole process. So Danny, can you share your screen one more time? I want to mention one thing. Yeah, a lot of people have problems to log in. So as Danny mentioned, for FWP tool, we really have two components. One is forms, which houses the FWP form, and the second part is the documents, is the certificate. But right now, you need to use two accounts to log into each system. So how you log into it? If you go to Danny, can you open the formstack.com, the homepage? So if you go to this page, you can go to click login, then you choose forms or documents. For some reason, a lot of some people go to sign, which is not the right one. The sign is a separate product for FormStack. It's not about sign in. So remember that part. I have a couple of people by mistake go to the FormStack sign, then could not get what they needed, then frustrated. So this is how you go. If you don't remember the detail URL, you can always go to formstack.com homepage, then go to login and choose the product you want to log in. So you can use the same email address, password, but you just need to create a separate account for forms and documents. If you ever have any issue, log in, just go to log in, then forget your password, because you know you have an account, and then you can just go to log in and go to the forms or documents and say, forget my password, use your email address. Okay, that's all. I would say for that, we have a little bit of time for questions. So some of if we don't have time for all the questions, those are, we will compile those questions into that step-by-step guide, and we'll update that. You will be able to see from there.
Perfect, very good. So we can go through some of the questions that have come in. So the first question is, does the student fill out anything? So absolutely, the student can fill out that same Fieldwork evaluation. So it changes functionality slightly. So you'll see on the form itself, one of the first questions is, are you a student or fieldwork educator? And based on how you answer that drop-down question, you're going to see items specific to either the student or the fieldwork educator. Next question, I'm going to try and roll through these quickly. Is there a format the CSV should be in? Yes, absolutely. You'll need the email, but the name is not needed. So when you're uploading or importing a CSV student, whether that's with students or fieldwork educators for the portal, we just need that email address. This is a common one. How do we remove the final form from the portal safely? Safely is the key word there. If you've added that on accident, you can just click that delete button and it will remove the form from the portal in real time. So that's always going to update and be dynamic. Question is, once you add the participants in the portal, will it automatically update and send, or is there another step to adding them? That's a really good question. No additional step there. So as soon as you've uploaded your participants into the portal, then that's going to go live. They're going to receive that email automatically. All right. Once you create the portal for the midterm, does the final automatically send 4 or 6 weeks later? Yes, so the confirmation email that sends on the delay, that's going to have a link to the final in the email. So essentially, this is the auto reminder for the final. This could also be manually sent by resending that notification email if you needed to within the submission area. Juno, I know you're also watching the questions come in, so if I need to further clarify any of these, I certainly can. I'm just trying to get through as many as I can. Is there a PowerPoint or written instructions you can refer back to? Yes, there will be written documentation in the form of a PDF that walks you through every step that we've gone through, step by step. Really, it's a total of 7 steps, and it's a one-time thing, but absolutely, that's going to be on the AOTA website, so we can get that listed here in the chat if we need to, but you will be receiving that, or you can have access to that. Let's see. Is there a way to differentiate what I should customize versus what will populate on templates? Sounds like it's hard to keep track of what should be modified. There's specific information on exactly which fields to edit in that documentation. So you won't be confused. That documentation even has the screenshots, and we're going to walk you through step by step. So you should be able to follow that. I understand in this training, it's pretty high level and can be confusing, but we walk you through step by step. Last question here. Under settings for the midterm and final documents, we do not need to add a confirmation email for the final, right? Only a midterm with a 6-week delay, and that will automatically send the final 6 weeks later. Yes, the emails are automatically added into those copied forms in your account, so you will not need to add any additional emails. I hope I answered that one.
So basically, that's correct. You don't need to add a confirmation email for the final. So you only need the notification email for the final.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Juno, if you don't mind, it looks like I've gone through the form stack section here of questions. That middle section we answered during the call, but there might be some that are specific to AOTA, just kind of usage-based questions, if you don't mind taking those.
Sure. So the first one, can you please tell me how we set this up initially? So if you don't receive the initial email, that's you might want to go to the formstat.com, then go to forms or documents. You forgot your password with your email address. See that, and that would be the way to force the system to reset your password. And the second one is, since there is no official score for midterm, how do we know the student is passing? So the midterm, as many of you know, that the midterm, we're not doing any pass or fail anymore. The midterm only has the status, has the score, does not have the pass fail status. The status only apply to final. The final does have the pass fail score. So yes, the midterm score just for reference only. The third one is, are we required to have students fill this out as well? No. It is up to you, but many schools do send the evaluation form to the students, so the students can do self-evaluation. You're not required. How do I get a FormStack account? First, you need to enroll to the AFWCs tool, which that enrollment form on AOTA website. If you go to AOTA website, Fieldwork, then go to new Fieldwork, that page. You will be able to get that.
I'll paste that in the chat as well.
Yes, so after you complete that form, we will send you an invoice along with the term of service to you. After you paid, we will provision your account in FormStack. Then you will receive 2 welcome emails from FormStack. If you don't receive, after you complete the enrollment form and you don't receive the welcome email in 2 weeks, let us know. Contact customer service at aota.org. How do we add CEUs on the certificate? Ohio only gives 8 CEUs for 12 weeks. That's you need to go to FormStack documents and update that based on your state requirement. That's I mentioned. You need to update that section based on your state requirement. So That's in the certificates documents part. What about varied student days for field work participation? I think we answered this question. So you have, you can, if you have a small cohort, you can add them into the same portal. If you have a big group of students, it's better to track in different portals. Would form stack be used in place of or in combination with a program like RX Preceptor, Core, ELMs? This is really your school's decision. For us, for the FWP tool, we are setting up in form stack. So some schools, they use Core or eValue. They are working on the integration. No, the integration basically, you can put the midterm link on the other programs. So the students can log into your other learning management system and get the midterm, finish the midterm. But starting from the midterm, everything needs to happen through the form stack. So the midterm score, the submission data will go to form stack, and that triggered the final, and the final will go to form stack too. So is you can talk to your internal IT group, or if they need to involve us, reach out to us, please. Is a update for programs who use exact the same thing. So I know they are in the process of integration, but I think it's really on the exact or eValue part, because form stack on all the integration really happening on those side. So I don't have I don't have the exact status yet, unfortunately, but I can find out. If you have more than one educator contribute to the form for a student, how is the form managed? So those are the multiple ways you can have each of them filled out a form. So in that case, you will get 2 submissions for the same student from 2 different educators. Then the benefits to use this way would be each of them will receive the certificate automatically, but you need to let them know how you want to decide how many CEUs. The CEUs based on the data on the form. So even on some schools, if you have 2 fieldwork educator supervise the same students for 8 weeks, each of them can only get 4 weeks. In this case, you would ask the fieldwork educator to put 4 weeks on the form instead of 8 weeks, because that's how triggered the certificate. If you don't want to receive multiple forms for one student, then you would have one of them fill out the form, add the additional fieldwork educators information on the form. There is a field called additional fieldwork educators information. Then you will generate the additional certificate based on the information on the form that you have to do manually, and that instruction will be on the step-by-step guide. So that step-by-step guide will be updated on AOTA website early next week. The next one is a link we receive initial to set up form stack account. Yes, that will be the welcome message. If you don't get the welcome message, use the forgot password. Is this linked to a school or to a AFWC? What if a AWC leaves? How can someone else access them? We still have to recognize. This is really linked to the school, not to the AFWC. When somebody leaves, then they need to let us know, send a ticket to customer service at aota.org, so that we can update the information, the access for that specific account. So remember, if you have multiple people on the same account, they all access the same information, so they can the other one person leaves, the other person will access that. Do the CEU certificates automatically generated? Are we able to use your own certificate from the school and send out via AWC? So yes, the CEU certificates right now is generated automatically. you can, if you want to use your own certificate, I would recommend you just customize that certificate to match your own school's needs. And if you need instructions and need help, contact customer service at aota.org. Most likely, I will be the person to help you on that. Do we still need a level 1 certificate the old way? The form right now, it is only for apply to level 2. So we are not talking about level 1 at this moment for the tool. So that may be in the future, but not right now. With COVID days split with interruptions, will the form allow for more than one set of dates? I'm not quite sure what you mean. I'm trying to explain. The dates, yeah, the only thing will be the dates. I would say for that part, if you have students who go out for fieldwork educator because of COVID, they supposed to go between January 1st to February 28th. But because of COVID, the first half they go out between January 1st to end of January 31st. Then the second half they don't go out until March 1st. So in that case, you can do either create a separate portal for different dates. Then you add, when they finish the first one, you add them to the second one. Then the only thing they will still receive that, the portal one, the invitation does not trigger anything. Only if they complete the midterm, that delayed email will trigger. So I hope that answers your question. If not, send the help desk tickets to us so we can talk offline. How do we have to use this certificate? I think we already mentioned it's right now it's set up automatically. If you don't want to use, I strongly recommend you to customize this certificate to suit your need. You don't have to, but that means we have to do some customer work just for your account. So disable that automatic setting, send out the certificate. I want to respect everybody's time. I know we still have some questions I have not answered yet. Let me quickly go through. So one of the questions I just scanned through. Our school have many campuses that will be sharing one account. Can we separate to different campuses so we each have your own portal? You can, as I mentioned to you, you can have your own portal, but it does not separate the data in the backend. All the data is the same place, and you can only have your one set of template, one set of email, one set of certificates. So in that case, if you want to use each campus, you want to have your own brand, you want to have your own email from, and your own email signature, I would recommend you to create separate accounts, which means will be separate subscription fees. Does this record last forever? Yes, unless you delete. Can we change the dates along the way if they are delayed? In fact, that would not be, you can't, because that delayed the delayed email is really based on what you when did they last complete the midterm. So I think the delayed message, if you are talking about the delayed confirmation email, then they will not. Danny, is that correct? Or Gina, do you want to chime in? I'm not 100% sure. That's my understanding, but
you're right. Yep. The delayed email is set to send when the midterm is filled out. So the date is going to be dependent on when it was filled out. So you can't change it post.
So one question is, I have not heard of anything new with the AFWC. I also have the same question. So I assume that's the field work site evaluation for the students. If that's the case, that's on the pipeline right now. I know we are Neil the other day told me he and a couple of other volunteers are working on that form. So yes, it might be in the future will be, maybe next year will be available to all of you. But in the meantime, if you need to do that, you can create your own form in FormStack. Remember, your license not just use our level 2 form. That's the form we designed for you. You should not make any changes. But in addition to this one, you can create your own customized form. You have up to 15 forms. So besides the ones we create for you, that's normally 2. So you have another 13 forms to be able to create. So that way you can create a form in the form stack by yourself, and if that's you can put in the portal if you want them. So invite them to complete. So there's a lot of potential. It just depends how you want to use. Okay, I think we are we are way over time, and I want to respect everybody's time. If any questions we have not answered, and also yes, even those questions we answered during the training, we will make sure is included into the step-by-step guide, so that everybody else whoever did not attend the training will be able to receive that too. So with that being said, thank you so much for joining us, and especially thanks to you, Danny and Gina, for helping us on this.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.